We're going to work with background images now. So on the W3 school site, we can look at the background images. And you can do this a couple different ways. I want to do a whole page background image. And I want it to stretch or cover against the entire page. So if you're going to go out here and use something like this, you can take up to 4 lines of code from W3 Schools without citing it. But if you're going to take more than 4 lines, please make sure to link back to it in your comments. So I'm going to grab these and modify them. So in my Visual Studio Code, I'm going to add them up at the top here. I'm going to save this. And this part I want to keep, the font family. So I'm going to grab that, drop it in here, and get rid of that section. So now I've got the body styled, and I've got a background in here, except the URL is not to an image that I currently have. I want to use the image of the Milky Way. And I should have given this a more user-friendly name because I don't want to type all those numbers. I'm just going to go in here and edit right here. I got this from Pixabay. All right, so now I can go back into here, and I'm looking for Milky Way .jpg, and that should be, so it's not going to repeat. It's in a fixed spot, background size color, and I've set the font. So this is a good time to save and go out to Chrome, go back to the images page and refresh it. And this is why I did the partially transparent background color inside of the boxes. It makes it where you can see a bit of the color, but it's going to make it really easy to read text. So if I were to, in one of those divs, so in here I'm going to do H1 images, and I have set that to ivory. I'm going to make all of the H1s, if I had more than one, I want them to be font weight bold. I want them to be text align and center. And that should be a good place to start. So if I save this again, go back to Chrome and hit refresh, you can see that it's very easy to read my text against this background, whereas if I had it directly over the Starry Night, it could be interfered with. But by having a partially transparent background, it makes it easier to read the text. Now, one of your requirements is that you have a background image for one of your divs as well. And so we're going to show you how to do that too. So I have in here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label each one of these, and I'd like you to do that too. I'm going to do this with an H2 tag, and I'm going to do background image. And so I want a background image here, and since it's for this particular div, I have the option of either putting in style here, or I could name this, give it an ID or a class name, and put them up here. I'm going to do an inline style. And you only do this if you're overriding something that shouldn't be the same for everything else. And we could take a look at, so the formatting is a little bit different than when you do the style up here up at the top. When you do the inline, and we'll go back out to Chrome, and let's go back and look at the images here for a second. You can do inline styles, and this is where you're going to resize things, and it will matter here really soon. So you do style equals, and then you put your styles in quotes. And we can do this as well. You're still using your semicolon between them, your colon. Formatting is pretty similar, but you're only doing this when you want to override something that's standard. So when I go into here, I can do style equals, and I will do background image, and you can do just a background image without having the other things in here. So I'm going to do a background image and a URL of, and we'll put, let me rename this one. And I'm going to hit enter. And this is going to not look nearly as good as the last one, but I want you to see what happens when we use the dog as a, let's take a look at that. It's giving me funky errors. I should have used single quotes and the JPG. So that should be dog.jpg. And it wants to have a semicolon and my quotes there, and I had to use the single quotes because I'm using double quotes on the outside, and that gives me no errors. So now I can save this, and I want to show you how that background works a little bit different. So when I go back out to Chrome and I go back into my images and I refresh it, you'll see that the background image, I put it in the wrong one. That's funny. So I put it here. And I wanted it here. That's how you should check frequently. And I got an extra quote there. Just need a closing bracket, and then the div closes down below. So now I can save this, and I can go back out and I can refresh. And so what I want you to see is that because this is not a very large div, now I could go in here and I could add to it. And make it 500 pixels, then you'd see the whole dog, and it's starting to repeat here. So you need to be aware that a background image doesn't force that div to be higher, which when we do normal images it will.